So welcome back. Today is Sunday. I'm going to be preparing two different meats, as it's a tradition on a Sunday to do more than two meat kind, so that it looks like Sunday and not like the rest of the days in the week. So today I'm preparing oxtail and roast chicken. So I'm just prepping them at the moment. I've washed them. I'm going to use some vinegar to wash them again, and then I will start to add my seasoning. Today I'm going to use a combined seasoning of browning that will be used on the oxtail and a bit of soya sauce. I'll be using some Chinese salt and chili pepper on the chicken, and I'll also use a bit of chicken seasoning, garlic, black pepper, and the Old Bay seasoning. So as I start to prepare it, I've already washed with my vinegar and they have been drained. It's always good to sort of drain the excess water off the meat, you know, just so that it doesn't have so much liquid in there. At the moment I've got the traditional rice and peas on the fire, but the peas is cooking first, and I've added my scallion, thyme and garlic, and you know, this is a time you can add your coconut as well. Okay, it's all the chopped seasoning. I've got a mixture of red onions, scallion, spring onions, sweet peppers, thyme, garlic, and the Scotch bonnet pepper. And this I will put into the meat and combine them with the powder seasoning. Added my chopped seasoning, and I'm about to add the powder seasoning, and then I will then mix them all up. I'll be using my hands, which to actually rub the seasoning in, so that it gives it that you know, makes it spread all over, and then marinate for a little while. Added all my powder seasoning to the meat, and I'm just about to mix it all up. Now, just to bear in mind, some people might be asking, oh, do you know what amount to put in there? It's just all judgment at the moment. I haven't really measured anything out. I've just sprinkled and whatever, but just be mindful, some of these seasoning can be quite salty. So what I tend to do is just sprinkle on just for the flavor, really. At the end, while you're cooking, you just taste as you go along, and if you feel like you want to put a little bit more something in there, then that's entirely up to you. So I'm just about to season it all up. So you notice it's getting a bit darker. That's because of the browning and the soya sauce, you know, to give it that bit of color and stuff, you know. And then once it's brown in the oil, you'll get that same color. There's a few occasions I've been out where you've had white chicken, white meat and stuff like that. That's because sometimes it's sort of pre-boiled, not fried, it's not browned, so you find that it's more a steam sort of thing. So that's all rubbed in, and yeah, I'm just gonna leave this to marinate, so that the seasoning can just soak into that and stuff like that. Okay, there you go. Chicken, I'll be putting it in a bag, in this shake and bake bag with garlic herb, and then I'm just rubbing in the seasoning. Some people, I mean, you know, normally stuff the chicken. You can do that with like leftover rice, and when you put it into the, you know, the oven to bake, it's all in there. But what I'm gonna do is put a lot of the seasoning inside inside the chicken, just so that it's stuffed in there, and just so that it gives it that flavor. Another thing that you can do is put a bit of butter on the skin. Some people put butter underneath there just so that it gives it that, you know, a bit more tender and stuff. But today I won't be doing that. I'm just literally just rubbing the seasoning in, and you know, make it marinate so that it's soaked to the bone, you know. Yeah, so that's what I'm doing today. Yeah, and as you can see, my pot over there is bubbling up for my rice and peas. All right. So I always like to cook with a bit of ginger. You know, today I'll be just adding the extract on there, just to give that little bit more flavor. So yeah, it's well seasoned. I haven't put any brown into this one today because it's just gonna get its natural color as it bakes in the oven. And tune in, and you'll see the results after. In terms of taste, again, some people tend to get a knife and just stick in so that the seasoning can actually, you know, soak in there. So I may just do that as well. So I'm just gonna stick my chicken up, you know, turn it over the other side, and then I'll just do the same to this side. Yeah, so that's all ready. Again, I'm just gonna make that marinade before we start to bake. So I'm using the shake and bake thing, but I'm not using the contents of it. I'm just using the bag. So I'm just going to put the chicken inside of the bag now, and then that will stay in there, and when I transfer into the oven, it will then bake in there. So that what this does, it browns it and also cooks it from the inside, and it's quite a good way of baking the chicken, for it to come out quite tender. Okay, chicken in a bag. I'm also gonna add some carrots and potato to that. Once it starts to cook and whatever, we'll take it out of the bag and, you know, let it have that sort of crispy color and stuff, you know, ready for consumption. To have the kettle boiled, because in ever case where I need to put some more water in the oxtail, I always make sure it's the kettle from the water from the kettle, because it keeps the same temperature going. Again, I've just sprinkled some seasoning and a little bit of butter there for the vegetable, and that I will allow to steam for a little while. My coconut mixed milk with a bit of sugar in it, and this is what I'm gonna pour into my peas. And believe you me, guys, the fragrance from that, it's just as though we had the real thing. And as you can see, it's taking that milky color. And then I'm just gonna add a little bit of salt just to taste. As you can see, the oxtail is starting to catch its color. It's drying out, so I'm gonna add some water to it just so that it carry on cooking. Okay. And I'm going to put some fire under the vegetable, and that's just going to steam now. Using basmati rice today, I'm just going to wash this, and then I'm going to add it to my peas as the peas is cooked. So when we're washing the rice, we normally wash it around 3 times, just until the water is a little bit, you know, clear. Can you notice that whiteness? Yeah. Yeah, so we wash it for a few times, yeah. Okay. And then I'll wash it again. Wash it again. Yeah. I don't know, people refer to it as excess starch. Yeah, and yeah, it's just the thing we do. Yeah. Okay. So there is nothing wrong with tasting as you go along to make sure you got the right taste. What I suggest is that if you're gonna taste, so my rice is in now, so I'm just gonna mix it round so that the peas is all together with the rice, so you get that rice and peas. So as it says, because it's a rice cooker, it will just switch itself off once it's cooked. So that I just leave it, and that's the great thing about that. You don't even have to look at it after that. And it keeps it warm. So you've got a warm button and a cook button there. So once it's cooked, it will just push up to warm. And yes, back to the oxtail that's cooking. That will take a little while, as I said, because it's one of the more tougher meat to cook. Some people use pressure cooker, which does it in about probably half an hour to 45 minutes. However, I have not got a pressure cooker, so I will be just cooking it slowly on the stove. Thing I can say about a salad or vegetable, it always shrinks. So it doesn't matter how full the pot is, you'll find that this will go right down. So never be alarmed about that. That's vegetable for you. Okay. Another thing to bear in mind, guys, if you're cooking the rice and you notice it's coming to an end, but there's still some hardness to the top, another way of making it steam is putting a cling film over and just allowing that to just steam, so that it's all cooked and stuff. So that's what I've done on this occasion. All right, the vegetable is more or less ready. That's you don't want it to cook out too soft and whatever, because again, you don't want to lose the nutrients from it. The carrots, as you can see, it gives it that nice color, nice garnish color. You got the deep green, lighter green, which is the cabbage and the pumpkin. So it all comes together, and presentation is quite good. They say the actual what you see that actually helps with the eating of it. So sometimes you see the food, and if it doesn't look attractive, you don't want to have it. So yes, presentation is always key. Oxtail still cooking, and that will go on for a good little while. And I will just check in on the chicken. So again, that's just on a low temperature, so because it's still quite early, guys, and I'm just doing everything quite slowly. The rice and peas is all done, very shelly and stuff. So we'll leave that again. As I said, it's on warm at the moment, so it's just gonna steam and whatever, so that you don't get any hard grains in there. So yeah, that's all done. I'm just putting in the excess seasoning in the oxtail because it's now tenderized and whatever. So I'm just gonna finish cooking it off. As I said, I normally put a bit of in there just to get all that seasoning, and that will just stay there and simmer down really. Yep. So put a bit of fire to that so that it starts bubbling up. In a little while I'll put some spinners, which is just flour. Really I should be using plain flour, but I haven't got any. As it says, anything you haven't got, you can always use a substitute. I'm going to use self-raising, but on this occasion I'm going to make it extremely small because it will swell up. So yeah, so I haven't got plain flour, but I'll be using self-raising. And as it says, when you use this type of flour in to boil, you've got to make them much smaller, otherwise they'll swell up quite big. Yeah, all right. Spinners, especially when you're not using self-raising, because they do get bigger. So this is a self-raising flour. It's how small you make the flour, because it's not self-raising. When you're gonna add it to the oxtail, which I'm not gonna add now but later, but this is how small you do it, because they will get bigger, because I'm not using the right flour. But I've removed the chicken from the bag, which is now tender and cooked, and it's now back in the oven to get the color. That's the roast chicken all done and ready for serving. And we've got our oxtail again, which is all done, all tender and falling off the bone there. Yeah, so that's all cooked. Spinners inside, and we're just letting that boil down a little bit just to thicken up the gravy. Okay. So my daughter insisted I add some macaroni and cheese to the Sunday dinner. Unfortunately, I didn't have the right pasta, so I used the sort of noodles, you know, the noodles that you can use to make quick meals. And the color is paprika, and I'd had a small amount of cheese, so it's just a small bowl of it. And I've mixed this all up. I've added egg as a binding agent with milk, and the bits that you can see on top, it's thyme, just to garnish it.